Hi, in this video we're going to take a look at the very basics on how to use the OneClick Make.com modules. The first thing you'll need before you start is a OneClick API key. Uh, to obtain one, go to OneClick settings and head to the API keys tab. If you haven't already done so, you need to create a new API key, give it a name so you can recognize it later, and then copy paste the API key to your clipboard. Next, we'll head to Make and create a new scenario. And for the first module, search for OneClick and then pick the Watch button click module. The button click module is effectively a webhook module, which will listen to the incoming button clicks from OneClick. And for that, we need to create a new webhook. Name your webhook my first button webhook. And we'll also need to create a connection. So basically what this will do is to connect to OneClick, and at the end the module will actually create a button to OneClick directly from Make. For this reason we will need to enter the API key that we got, but first let's name the let's call it my OneClick connection. Yeah, we need to enter the API key in order to be able to connect back to OneClick. Click on Save. It authorizes, and there we go. As you can see, there's a few button-related settings visible now. The first thing here that we need to do is to define something called a button API key. The button API key is basically a password securing your Make scenario to the specific button that we are now creating. So enter a random password. The longer and the more complex, the better. You don't need to memorize this or copy it. It will be automatically put in place in OneClick. Then let's name our button. So this is going to be visible as the button label. My first button. And then a few additional settings. So do you want to enable or disable the messaging feature? In the other videos, we're going to take a look how to use the OneClick messaging module with Make. So I'm just going to leave it enabled. But if you're not planning to utilize the messaging feature, it makes sense to turn it off. You can also decide to include deal product data together with your button click, which is obviously handy if you're working with deals, and you may want to have the deal products, so this way you don't need to fetch them separately in Make. Then the last two are related to the button visibility. So you can decide on which Pipedrive item types your button will be visible on. I'll just select deals. And lastly, you can decide to hide the button from others until you're done building a scenario and tested and configured everything. If you leave this enabled, just remember that when you're done, you need to go back to OneClick and change your button visibility settings manually, because otherwise, well, obviously, others won't be able to click your button. Okay, ready to go. Click on Save, and in a second, what happens is that the button got created in OneClick, so I'll hit Save, and then head back to Pipedrive, and there we go. My first button was created. Let's take a look how the button settings ended up. Go and edit the button. So as we can see, the button URL is in place, pointing directly to your Make scenario. Labels are there. In headers, you can see the button API key, it's in place. Limit visibility has been set to deals only and to me only, and also the messaging feature has been enabled. So everything seems good to go. So let's give it a try. I'll just run once the scenario, click my button, and it's fetching the products as it should. And then what we can see in Make is that we got some data, and we also got some products here, which is obviously empty because I didn't have any products on the deal. So let's have a look at the different pieces of data that we actually got. So we got the unique button identifier in here, which is sometimes convenient. We also know from which Pipedrive resource did the button click come from deal in this case. We got my user ID, got my company ID, and then I suppose most importantly we got the so-called selected IDs, which is in this case the deal ID from which the button was clicked from. We also have here the fields array and the product array, which are both currently empty because we haven't configured the button fully yet. We're actually going to take a look at these in another video. But if you have configured to include fields and products, this is where you're going to find them. Also, we got something called an event ID, which is kind of an ID for the very specific user and button click event that happened to me and to my button, and that specific click when I just click the button. This is being used together with the messaging feature in the messaging module, but once again, that's covered in another video. So yeah, that's the very basics of how to get started with the OneClick Make modules. Make sure that you look at our other videos also to get more details on how to utilize OneClick with Make.com. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.